Okay, next in this sequence we want to look at colors. And you can either change colors by getting a color cast out, or if you want to make an image a little warmer or a little colder, you can do that. And you can also saturate or desaturate. So what we want to do is first maybe look and see if we have a color balance. Now I'm looking at this and saying, you know, it's sunset, and right now it looks a little bit on the cold side. Now I might maybe want to have that image just a little bit warmer. Okay, so that's one thing I can do. Also, I want to make sure I don't have any color casts in here. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. One way is I make a new adjustment layer for levels this time, and I'll call this color correction. Okay, and the quick way to do this is you look at each individual color on here, and that and like that. Okay. So I can go in here and say the reds, okay, everything's touching. I want to look to, if it doesn't touch the histogram, I want to move it till it does. Now this does, okay, but I can just slide this over a little bit if I want to just add a little bit of green in there. And see, that makes an adjustment like so. And the blue looks pretty good. It's all over there. The idea is that if the histogram started here, let's say, you would move this point over to there. You would take the red and you would move its point over to there like that. And it would then eliminate any kind of color cast. So you have to be careful though, and it may or may not be what you want. And again, you have control over this. You have to decide. You know, Photoshop is saying, well, this is the color cast, but you may want that color cast because it is warmer or cooler and it's doing something specific for the image. So always defer to the image. Don't do strictly by numbers because it may not give you the results that you really want for that image. Okay, so that's one way to do a color cast. Another way is to, again, using curves. You go in and you curves and you do the same thing, color correction, and you have the same kind of setup here where you have red, green, and blue. And the way this works, again, if you take the red, like I have right here, if I move it down, you see I'm eliminating red. I'm taking red out, and if I move it up, I'm adding red to the image. Okay, so if I have a little too much red in there, I can get rid of it, or add a little more to warm it. Same thing here with green. Okay, eliminates green, adds green, and blue eliminates blue, makes it more yellow, adds blue, like so. Okay, so. And again, you want to look overall. You may, as you do this, you might see, oh, that's making the sky look the way I want it. That's going to come later when you start doing local adjustments. You just want to make sure that overall the colors are the way you want them to look. So you might want to do something like that. And maybe, you know, add some red in there, like so. Do something like that. Okay, so that's a color correction. You can also change the overall colors by the hue, and again, you can go in here. Now, oh, I forgot about blending modes. In this case, okay, contrast in here, black and white points, luminosity. Contrast needs to be on luminosity as well. Now, this is where you're going to start getting the colors. Okay, so we can then go in here and say, all right, for color correction, we want to look at the colors in there, and you can see how that changed those colors a little bit. So you want to set the blending mode to color when you're doing a color correction. If I'm doing a hue saturation, let's say, or color balance, okay, I can go in here, I'm going to change the blending mode to hue, and this is exactly how the curves layer works as well too. You can see that if I want to eliminate blue, I add yellow. If I want to eliminate yellow, I add blue. So it's the complementary colors on here. So if I want to add a little blue in here, I'm going to go this way, say I'm adding blue. Okay, here I'm adding yellow. I'm taking blue out. So I can make a change like that. Okay, that looks pretty bad. Now, in each one of these, both in the curves adjustment box and in the layers, in the levels properties box, down below here, you can always revert back to the default value by hitting this reset button right here. It looks like an arrow that's twisted over. Okay, that resets it. Also, this button right here will toggle back and forth, so you can preview the change. You can see if you like that change or not. Okay, it's the same way of going over to your layers palette and just clicking the layer off and on like this. Okay, and you can do that here as well. Okay, you can do that same thing as clicking the layer off and on, toggles layer visibility. Okay, so you have that option, again, going back like that. Okay, and that's under hue. And then the last one you want to do here is saturation. Okay, hue and saturation. So I can either change the hue on here, yeah, okay, like that, or I can bump the saturation up or decrease the saturation like so, depending again what kind of look I want in the image. Okay, I can maybe do something like that. And these should be set for saturation when you do that. Okay. Now you can see when you made those layers, it automatically named them for you in this case because of the type of blending, type of layer it was. So it's done some of that work for you. So these are some of the steps you want to take for global adjustments. And the next series of screencasts, we're going to look at localized adjustments.